You're not broken and your body is not betraying you. But if you're stuck in a flare up loop, then it's time to go deeper. In today's episode, I'm breaking down the three sneaky mistakes that even the most well intentioned women often make that keep your body stuck in a survival mode, and what you can do instead to finally reclaim your energy, clarity, and calm. My name is Anindita, and I'm a functional medicine certified health coach and practitioner. And in today's episode of Embrace Your Healing Journey, I'm breaking down the three mistakes that even the most well intentioned, well read, health conscious women make that, they unknowingly make this mistake that can quietly keep their body stuck in a flare mode. By treating flare ups as feedback, choosing restoration over restriction, and learning to decode what really matters, you can stop chasing short term fixes and start stepping into real healing. I want to share an excerpt from the book The Healthy Deviant by the author Pilar Gerasimo, and I will be sharing the link in the show notes below. And I will talk a bit about that. She speaks mostly of the US in this excerpt, but I think it's more or less applicable to many other countries. She says, what kind of society makes being healthy and happy so difficult that only a tiny single digit percentage of its population can hope to pull it off? The answer is self evident: a sick society. And within a sick society, one where chronic illness, obesity, drug dependence, anxiety, and depression are rapidly becoming the prevailing norms, what does it mean to be the one of the few who bucks those unhealthy odds? It means that you should have to be prepared to successfully resist your society's standard way of doing business. You have to oppose its rules and defy its conventions. You have to make all sorts of inconvenient and unpopular choices. You have to become a sort of a renegade freak, or at least be willing to think and act like one some of the time. The great news is that this does not require superhuman willpower, single digit body fat percentages, buns of steel, or an endless parade of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. What it does require, a willingness to toss some official looking rule books out of the window, to suspend some self torpedoing beliefs and assumptions, and to begin doing some things differently. That's the person she calls the healthy deviant, because you are defying the norms, you're standing out from the crowd. And it's a very unfortunate reality that you have to literally go against what is the common sense, what is the common wisdom, to actually be healthy in today's sick society, as she calls it. And it's true in the American part of the world, as she talks about, but it's equally true in many of the other developed nations, and to a large extent in my country as well. And in fact, the other day I was having coffee with a friend, and she's also a health and wellness she's also very passionate about health and wellness. And as a health coach, I tend to gravitate towards people where we share the same kind of interests and values, of course. And yeah, she was asking me this question, that she feels that when she talks to people, many of them actually look at her strangely when she talks about to them about things that she does on a daily basis, things that are good for her mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I can completely relate to that, because when I tell people that I want to go to bed at 9:30, it's been a very stressful time for me lately. For the next few weeks, I'm not stepping out at night. People look at me strangely, right? So the small things, the I take sleep very seriously, right? And most people don't. So I am the kind of deviant and the healthy deviant, because I know what price my body pays. So that's what I'm talking about, that we need to do things differently. In fact, if we want to stay healthy, just by going along with the flow, going with the crowd is not going to help you. And that's exactly what I told my friend. And this is the book that I shared with her, which is, and I wanted to share it with you here. So I'm going to share the link in the show notes. And if you're here, chances are that you're no stranger to flare up. So your body crashes out of nowhere. One day you're functioning okay. The next day you're curled up with crushing fatigue, joint pain, brain fog, or something else. You've canceled plans, pushed through meetings, skipped meals, and you're done with your body that seems to play by no rule whatsoever. So maybe for you, it's the sudden bloating and stomach pain after food that was meant to be healthy for you, rashes or hives that just appear out of nowhere, and it leaves you embarrassed and frustrated. Or it may be a deep, relentless fatigue that never seems to go away. or that constant tightness in your chest. You don't know whether it's anxiety, inflammation, or both, or something else. And the hardest part, you are doing everything right. And you're reading the blogs, following the protocols, maybe even avoiding gluten, dairy, soy, corn, maybe nightshades, and still nothing seems to work long enough. And that is why in today's episode, I am talking about the three sneaky mistakes I see again and again, even from the most health literate women. And I'm going to share that. So hang on till the end. And this is not because you're doing something wrong, but because most of the healing advice comes from a place of fear and not wisdom. So I'm not here, don't worry, to give you another 20-point checklist things to do. I'm here to make healing more simple, intuitive, and a lot more human. Because here's what no one's telling you: it's not just your gut, it's not just your hormones, and it's not definitely not just your immune system. The real problem is that your body is caught in a loop, not of dysfunction, but of disconnection. And I keep talking about it. I talked about it in the previous episode. I'm going to share episode 55 in the show notes as well. Disconnection is from what your symptoms are trying to tell you. It's your body's way of communicating with you. Disconnection from how your environment, physical and emotional, is affecting your body. Disconnection from your own internal signals, your intuition, because you've been trained to override, dismiss, or medicate them. When you live in a world that praises you for pushing through, numbing through, or medicating, it becomes almost impossible to hear your body's voice clearly. And that's what the author Pilar was talking about in the book The Healthy Deviant, that you have to become a deviant in today's day and age to actually be able to hear your body's voice. So the symptoms keep on building, they get louder, they flare, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're not really tuned into what's going on underneath. So the real problem is not that something is broken. If it's your body is trying its best to adapt in an environment that is overwhelming, misaligned, or unsupportive, and it's using these symptoms as signals. So your role is to understand, to stop and pay attention. So that's the shift for you. So stop asking what's wrong with me and start asking what is my body reacting to and why. So let me guess, you've been told that if you could just find the right diet, the right treatment, the right medication, the right supplement, follow the right protocol, everything would get better. So you've tried, you put in your best, you've cleaned up your food, you've eliminated gluten, dairy, maybe even nightshades or lectins, you started tracking everything: food, mood, hormone, sleep. You stocked your shelves with probiotics, all kinds of supplements. You followed the wellness rules to the letter, maybe green smoothies, gut repair powders, collagen. You went to see yet another specialist who did another round of tests and gave you another set of lab results, but no real answers. And still the flare ups keep coming. And maybe you've developed yet another autoimmune disease, because a person who has one autoimmune disease is three times more likely to develop another one. That's just how the immune system works. And I've done episodes on autoimmunity in the past as to why this is so. I'm going to share the link in the show notes. So now you're not just exhausted, you're discouraged and you're confused. If this sounds like you, I want you to know something important. It's not that you failed, it's just that the strategy is incomplete, because most of the solutions you've tried are focused on controlling symptoms, not understanding them. They are built on the assumption that your body needs fixing instead of learning how to feel safe again. And that changes everything. Again, don't get me wrong, and I talk about it all the time. It's not that you don't need medications. It's not that you should not go to the doctor. It's not that you should not get your labs done. They are all important parts of getting a diagnosis, getting the right treatment, making sure that you prevent further damage. They all have their role, because medications, doctors are of course save lives. That's not the point. The point I'm making is that they are often not enough, right? This is what you're missing. And I'm going to talk about the three mistakes that you may be making. Because when your nervous system is constantly on high alert, your body cannot be in a healing mode. It's in survival mode. It's in fight or flight mode. So you can't biohack, supplement, or restrict your way out of that. And in today's episode, I want to help you shift that. Not by adding more to your plate, but by removing the friction, by showing you the three common well meaning mistakes that that you may be making, that people often make, that keeps you stuck in this flare up loop, and exactly how to shift them in a way that finally makes sense to your body. So you don't need a stricter diet. You don't need more tests or a longer supplement list. You don't need to fix your body, because your body is not broken. What you definitely need to do is shift the way that you respond to those symptoms. And it starts by spotting these three sneaky mistakes that keep you stuck. even when you're doing all the right things. So, mistake number one is treating flare ups like a crisis instead of a clue. So when your symptoms spike, when they become really aggressive, it's easy to go into panic mode. It's easy to do more, medicate more, cut out more foods, push harder. But your body is not punishing you. It's trying to communicate with you. It's telling you that there is something that is not in alignment. So what you need to do instead is pause, breathe, and listen and ask yourself, what is this flare trying to protect me from? What message am I really getting? And this single question can shift you from clear fear to clarity and open the doors to real healing. So mistake number one was treating flare ups like a crisis instead of a clue. Mistake number two, again, extremely common, is over tracking and over analyzing. So you might be logging every meal, every symptom, every ounce of calories, sleep, and still feel lost. The truth is, all that tracking can actually keep your nervous system on high alert, and it can backfire because you are stuck in hypervigilance and your body is stuck again in the fight or flight or survival mode, and it cannot heal. It cannot be in two modes at the same time. It cannot heal and repair itself and also be stuck in a survival fight or flight mode. So what you can do is track with intention and not obsession. Instead of recording everything, tune into what really matters, your body's patterns, not just the data. So start with one or two key symptoms and explore how they show up, not just when. In fact, I have created a free symptom relief guide to help you do this. There's a lot of resources in that, and I'm going to share that link in the show notes below so you can get that as well. So mistake number two was over tracking and over analyzing. And mistake number three is skipping the emotional aftermath. We don't really want to talk about our emotions. We don't really think that they're important many times because we are so focused on the physical aspects of our health issues. So you treat the physical symptoms, but the emotional load that comes of dealing with flare-ups, dealing with chronic illnesses, living with it every single day, and the price that we often pay, the guilt, the fear, the worry about the uncertainty, those emotions, if they stay bottled up, your body stays on edge. They brace for the next flare. And once again, you're stuck in survival mode, and once again, your body is not able to heal. So what you need to do instead is to give yourself space to feel, to create that space, to name what came up during or after a flare up, to ask, what emotions did this bring up for me? Was it guilt? Was it fear? Was it shame? And sometimes the sadness, it depends on what you went through, and you need to name it to be able to tame it. And sometimes the most healing thing that you can do is not to fix the flare, but to acknowledge the feelings that it left behind. And these, what I've talked about today, these three mistakes, I've talked about number one, um, treating flare-ups like a crisis and not a clue. Number two, over-tracking and over-analyzing. And number three, skipping the emotional aftermath. All these things might seem like small shifts, but they are powerful because when you start seeing your symptoms, it's conversation instead of a crisis. Everything begins to change. Your energy begins to stabilize, and the flare ups lose their power. And most importantly, you stop fearing your body and you start partnering with it. This is the key. If there is only one thing that you take away from this episode, that is this, that you need to stop fearing your body and start partnering with it, because that's where true healing begins. And the reason this is so important is because every time you treat flare up like a failure, you chip away at your trust in your body. Every try you try to micromanage with more tracking, more stuff, you pull yourself further away from your inner wisdom, inner intuition. And every time you skip over that emotional weight that you've been carrying for dealing with this illness for so many years or decades, it's keeping you stuck. You're missing the opportunity to release what is keeping you stuck, and the patterns is not. And living like this is not just exhausting, it is unsustainable, because real healing will not happen when you're constantly firefighting symptoms. You have to get out of this disease merry-go-round. I call this situation as a disease merry-go-round because I see so many people stuck in this disease. They constantly go round and round in circles, and this the only way that you can get out of this disease merry-go-round is by shifting into partnership with your body. And that's when the fog starts to lift. The thing is, it's not just about feeling a little bit better. It's not even about reversing your symptom. It's about getting your life back. That's what I feel so passionate about. It's not about getting well. It's not just about symptom reversal or reversing a disease. It's about getting your life back on track. It's about living your life. It's about your energy, your clarity, your confidence, and your freedom. Your freedom to pursue your dreams, your freedom to live life on your terms, your freedom to have healthy relationships with your children, with your husband, with your family, your freedom to live a very happy and healthy social life. That's what you want, right? It's not about the disease, and it's certainly not about just reversal of symptoms. So if you're ready to explore how to do that in a way that it's simple, doable, and rooted in wisdom, then I invite you to join me for the free upcoming masterclass that I have on April 25th. I'm going to share the link in the show notes below. But before you go, here are today's key takeaways. I call it the body wise wrap up. Tell me, let me know on Instagram at the rate Anindita Rungta if any of them resonate with you. Number one, your symptoms are signals, not setbacks. Number two, doing more isn't always the solution. And these are the three mistakes that you need to look out for, which is treating flare ups like a crisis instead of a clue, over tracking without real insight, and ignoring the emotional weight that the symptoms carry. Number three, key takeaway is healing begins when you shift from control to connection, because listening to your body creates that clarity, calm that you've been craving for. So, any of these takeaways, any of this, what I shared in today's episode really resonated with you, share it with a friend, share this episode or screenshot your favorite takeaway and tag me at the rate Anindita Rungta on Instagram so that I can cheer you on. And as I mentioned, I'll be sharing the link for the masterclass if you want to learn how to put this in practice. It's called Tired of Doing Everything Right and Still Not Healing. Check out the show notes below. The link is going to be shared there. Your body knows how to heal. Are you ready to support it?